Hello, Legion. Welcome to I Still Call It a Lariat. This is a pro wrestling podcast. We are an amazing pro wrestling podcast, the greatest in the world. Okay, we're pretty good, truthfully. My name is
according to
Steve
us,
Zaff.
who's making the rules on who's the best?
That's true. It's all a matter of opinion. But my name, as always, is Steve Zaff. With me, my tag team partner, Mr. Showtime, Michael Wright. How you doing today, Michael?
Well, you know me, Steven. I'm living the dream.
Awesome. A lot of stuff to go over today. Really interested in some of this stuff. This is kind of our blow-off episode before some of these pay-per-views are coming out between Double or Nothing and King and Queen of the Ring. But, Michael, I know there was something that you really wanted to talk about.
Yeah, thanks. So we talk about a lot of different wrestling stuff here on the show, and wanted to kind of give you guys a little sneak peek into some of the other wrestling stuff that we participate in. If you've ever really wanted to be one of those guys that book the shows, put together your own cards, your dream matches from the 80s and 90s, there's a game that we've been playing called 80s Mania Wrestling Returns. All of the characters are you'll resemble some of the wrestlers of your youth, though they're completely different. But this game is fantastic. You get to book your own shows. It goes from 1980 to 1999, some of the best feuds, and you kind of play booker. You're the commissioner of your own show, and I think if you haven't checked it out yet, you should definitely check it out. I have a lot of fun with it. I'm in my third campaign of it. I'm at 1995, and I figured out ways to make myself. You can't make your own characters or like that, but there's a wrestler in there called Chance Solar, who's kind of Han Solo, and I always just pretend like he's me. So he ends up having really big title runs and feuds with the likes of the Jet Set Stutter and other classics of a bygone era.
The flawless one, if you will.
Yep, he's been world champion a few times.
I am also a huge fan of this game. I've actually started playing the modern wrestling Mania one of it. I am a little bit bigger of a fan of the retro one, the 80s one as well, but both these games are just amazing. If you're a wrestling fan and you're not playing these games, you should probably start playing these games. It'll consume a good amount of your time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We'll leave the links in the bottom there. Just if you want to mess around, have a good time with it.
All right. Now, with that out of the way, as always, we would like to shout out our nonprofit, Tap Cancer Out. Tap Cancer is a jiu-jitsu tournament that they hold around the country, and they help with places like Alex's Lemonade Stand, American Brain Tumor Association, Isabella Santos Foundation, Little Pink Houses of Hope, Camp Sunshine, Christopher's Haven, the Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center at Johns Hopkins, CureCervicalCancer.org, First Descents, and Tom Coughlin's J Fund. Again, this is one of those ones that's really important to me. The links for all of that information will be in our description, along with our social media stuff, which also has links to, we'll have links to 80s Wrestling Mania and the varying nonprofits and supporters of the show. Unfortunately, we do have to bring up a wrestler passing away, John Bad Bones Klinger. He was a European wrestler. He was on a couple of TNA outings. We do not know him personally. I've never seen much of his work, and I've never met him on varying shows, but we do have a lot of mutual acquaintances who everyone in the wrestling world has been saddened by this. They have just universally said how great of a guy this guy was. And with that said, we'd like to send our condolences out to his family, his friends. This is always sad. He seemed as though he was a younger gentleman, and always sad to see someone who everyone so universally liked pass. So our condolences to everyone in his circle. But with that, we will move on to the show and actual wrestling news. One of the first things that I'd like to look at is AEW is moving their All Out pay-per-view. That's the one that they're doing in Chicago. This is the first time they're moving it to a little later. This is the 5th one that they're doing. They normally do it Labor Day weekend. They're moving it to a week later. I think this is a great idea. My main reason is because they are not going to move Wembley, and Wembley was still a week before this. So you have this massive show in Wembley and an immediate turnaround without any room for this to breathe. Honestly, I think it would actually benefit them more to move it even further into September. But tiny steps right now, right? Like that's where we need to be. This is the first step of them probably moving it to a later date, or eventually setting up where All In Wembley is going to be a little earlier, at least, if they can make it that way, because I feel like that's the best idea.
Yeah, I don't mind them being close to each other. They just have to tell a story together when they're close. I think this is great that they move it, give a little breathing room between the two, at least having a week between the two, or an extra week between the two. But if they're telling a similar story, it's almost like a night one, night two kind of situation with WrestleMania, in my opinion. If they kind of work it where it's almost all in and all out, where it is that two show where they have some connective tissue to it, I don't mind them being that close. They just don't typically have that. It seems like two supercards that they have that close to each other, which is great, and it's AEW's MO. But giving it more time in between them, I think, helps everybody out in the long run.
Exactly. I think letting it have that time to breathe gives the fans a chance to digest what happened out of All In, and then move on to All Out with a fresh set of eyes, and they're not completely burnt out from the clearly bigger show out of what is probably their two biggest shows of the year, realistically. Another big news, another traveling show. WWE is returning to Japan for the first time in 5 years. That's huge. I remember the last show that they did in Japan, and I think I'm even remembering a different show, but the last thing I remember them doing in Japan was they did the Beast from the East, or the Beast in the East, I'm sorry. And the main event of it was Lesnar, but the real main event of it was Finn Balor returning to Japan for the first time since he had left New Japan, and he faced Kevin Owens for the NXT title at the time. It was a really good show, and you got a lot of cool stuff out of it. Not to mention, you got to see Brock Lesnar back in Japan for the first time since he was in New Japan, which was really cool. I think WWE returning to Japan is going to be a much more steady thing that we're going to see. I know there's been talks of them doing where it's not going to be NXT UK anymore. It's going to be NXT Europe. I could see them doing NXT Japan, which is why they were helping out with some of the All Japan stuff that they were doing with Regal Sun going and doing the Triple Crown tournament and things like that. So I think this is the start of them forming a much better working relationship with Japan just in general. And by Japan, I mean the country of Japan.
Yeah, there seems like there's a few things happening here. The first one is WWE is globalizing. They want to go everywhere, and they're talking about WrestleMania being out of the country. They're talking about literally taking like stints here and there to go all over the world, which helps elevate the prestige of the company. It also helps get a larger fan base. I get all that, and it gets a lot more money. They typically charge the out of the country cities to host these events, and even rumors that they might even start trying to charge cities in America for hosting Raw and SmackDown. So that, I mean, wrestling, you're in wrestling to make money. That's what they do, right? So that's out there and great. But I've also heard that they're actually going to start aligning with some more of the wrestling promotions in Japan. So I think you might see some more crossover. I think there's starting to be like a Civil War-esque thing happening within the wrestling world, where it's Team AEW versus Team WWE, and kind of seeing where that takes us. And you might see like coalitions starting to form.
Just more of that wrestling tribalism. It's amazing. It's not amazing whatsoever, but it's a thing, I guess. Kind of like the Beatles and the Stones, right?
But if it does get us to start experiencing more of the global wrestling landscape, I'm actually kind of for it. Because, like, right now, I'm not really paying all that much attention to any of the global stuff except for what Nick Nemeth is doing, right? But if WWE starts bringing in people from some of the other promotions, not New Japan, but some of the other ones, maybe we'll start seeing more of that talent and bringing those styles in, sending our styles out. It could be good for the wrestling industry in general.
I also think that by having Triple H in charge, he's a little better suited than his predecessor was to seeing the foreign wrestlers come in and maybe being able to showcase them a little bit better. Whereas I feel like up until recently, every time we've gotten Japanese wrestlers, a lot of times it seems like it's almost like a caricature of what they were. They haven't. It's one of those things we just never see some of these guys really, really get up as high as the card as maybe they could or should. Shinsuke Nakamura being a prime example of this. A lot of people just really disliking the way that he was brought in originally on the main roster. My only knock on anything is if you're going to work a WWE schedule, working a Japanese strong style is very difficult. You have to switch up your style at least a little bit because you can't work, 45 weeks out of the year working that Japanese strong style. They don't work it that way. So the fact that they don't do it over there is just kind of proof that you can't do it everywhere. So
I get that, but Shinsuke is getting kind of buried right now. Like, he got drafted to SmackDown. We haven't even seen him.
I haven't seen him yet, and I love Shinsuke. Don't get me wrong. I love Shin. A lot of these guys they're awesome, and they're cool people on top of it. But I'd love to see a little bit more. Again, like you said, the global landscape of it seems like it'd be awesome. A global superstar that we haven't talked about since WrestleMania, The Rock. We get the first shots of The Rock as Mark Kerr for the new movie, The Smashing Machine. For anyone who doesn't know, Mark Kerr was an MMA fighter. He was cut along the same lines as basically the Randy Couture's and the guys like that, where he was just an absolute beast. He did a lot of amateur wrestling and then would just destroy people. But if you look at this picture of The Rock, he looks absolutely nothing like himself. He looks almost exactly like Mark Kerr, which is phenomenal. It's done by the A24 studio, which is the same studio that did the Iron Claw. I'm a huge fan of that movie. I'm a huge fan of a lot of their work just in general. So I think this is going to really, really come off as a good movie. Again, we've been wrong before, but I can't wait for this to come out. I was really excited for Iron Claw to come out. I'm getting more excited for this to come out now as well. Which takes us to actual wrestling promotions. Showtime, I'm going to let you take over for TNA a little bit because we're going to talk about one of your favorite wrestlers in the world.
Yeah. So TNA, I know that it seems like the world is revolving around WWE and AEW these days, but TNA doesn't deserve to be ignored. And we want to try to cover them a little bit more regularly on this show because there's actually some pretty good wrestling matches that are happening over there. And honestly, we all kind of sat up and took attention because Joe Hendry did his thing and made the world believe in him. And it's funny because I'm calling it now. Joe Hendry is going to be the next TNA World Champion. They just had this 16-man and woman tag team cluster match. It was fine. It was an okay match. You kind of could see everyone got their spots here and there. There's so many people involved. Every single TNA champion. And if you notice,
that's Showtime's way of saying that it was better than you thought it was going to be, but it still was a 16-man tag match.
There was 16 people. in the like they couldn't even stand on the ring apron. There was 2 people on the ring apron, 1 person in the ring, and 5 people on the outside. Excuse me. Or when you have 1 person quitting through halfway through the match, which I thought was really funny when the X Division champion, now his name is escaping me.
Mustafa Ali.
It's Mustafa Ali. Sorry, Mustafa Ali wouldn't get tagged in by the system, and he decided to take his ball and go home. When he went over to the ring table and said he withdrew himself. I thought it was really good storytelling. There's a decent amount of storytelling going on within this company. There was a couple of cool promos throughout the night. I thought it was interesting in the 16-man tag where Joe Hendry was the only one that got the mic to talk to everybody in the crowd out of all of them, including Matt Hardy being there. And then he picked up the win at the end out of all those people. So, I mean, I'm just kind of reading what the cards are telling me right now, but I'm going to call Joe Hendry your next world champion after you see Matt Hardy and Moose go at it. I'm assuming that Moose is going to retain there, and then Joe Hendry's going to come and save the day. The local town hero. I know it's an old gimmick for him, but if you actually watch if you watch this match, there was actually some really cool stuff going on here. Leon Slater and the Allen Angels match. You should check that out. They put on a really good one. It was a fast-paced match. It's exactly the type of wrestling that I'm looking for. There's some cool storylines, and one of those little things that I want to nitpick right now is whenever someone's sitting on the outside of the ring and they're doing the 10 count and they're dead on the outside and they get to 9 and they're still on the floor, but at 9.5 they have all the energy in the world to jump up and slide under the ring. Steve Macklin shows you on Impact how to do a 10 count correctly when you still get in at 9.5, but you don't have to play this little sprint at the end like you got a boost of energy out of nowhere. He does it like a pro. So I think if you guys are looking for a little bit more in TNA, I'm actually starting to get a little bit into it because you have Jonathan Gresham has a cool mysticism storyline going here where he wears the big squid head. The referees are starting to puke up black ink and stuff. There's something going there, and there's a nice slow build to his return. And Santino Marella is hysterical in this. I'm dying for him to get a very serious, straight-laced assistant who could just hate their life working with him as he comes up with some of these crazy ideas, and he's over the top, and he's just standing there going, but sir, we can't do this thing. No, sir. No, of course I'll get it done, sir. Like, I'm just like that character alongside him would be comedy gold, and really without like taking away the fact that he's running the company. So I would love to see some stuff like that, and they could turn a corner without doing too much. They got some good talent there, some old throwbacks of people that we really like to watch, some young talent coming out, and so I think you guys should kind of pay attention, particularly on the road to Slammiversary.
They are starting the Road to Slammiversary tour. I saw it starting in Montreal, I believe, and I believe they're trying to make this a big pay-per-view. The Slammiversary pay-per-view used to be pretty big for TNA because it's literally the anniversary show of their first show, so that's why they always do it. I'm looking forward to it. Like you said, Mike, TNA has been a nice slow build. And I know we talked about it a little bit before the show. A lot of our issues come down to slightly with the production quality. They could definitely be better on production, but that kind of comes down to money at this point. And I know we've made the joke, and I think we've even made the joke on the show that Vince McMahon is taking all this money that he's acquiring and he's going to just go buy TNA. And I don't think that's what's happening, but I think it would be cool if we could get someone in there who has enough money, who is willing to give the money, but maybe even stay out of it and hire back Scott D'Amore or somebody along those lines who can make sure the ship stays straight. Hey, I love wrestling, but I'm not a wrestling mind. I just want to be involved in the business and go that route. You know, pretty much kind of the same way that Billy Corgan did for NWA, so long as they don't go crazy and have stupid cocaine angles. By the way, on one of the NWA shows, he had the Sinister Minister basically snort cocaine. That was a thing. That happened. Don't do that on primetime wrestling, by the way, guys. I think TNA I think it's on a nice upswing, honestly. And like you said, it's time that we all really, really started taking notice of some of the better stuff that they've been doing. It's been good enough that we shouldn't be ignoring it. You're right.
One of the things I would love to see, not sure of this in the works. I know Nick seems to not be cleared right now, but I would love to see the Nemeth brothers tag up as well. They have a nice little feud that they can do with the system, with Joe Hendry going after Moose and the Nemeth brothers going after their tag team champions. It could be cool.
I think I saw that is advertised somewhere.
Oh, is it?
That it's the first time ever the Nemeth brothers are gonna tag up, because they've never tagged it before. Even when they've been in the same companies, they've never tagged up. They've always just been on opposite ends of kind of the spectrum of star power at this point. So being able to do it, I think that would be cool. And having them versus the system, I think would be really cool too. I think it would be a good match. I think we'd get a good wrestling match out of it, which at the end of the day, as far as the in-ring product, that's what we want, is a good wrestling match. We want something that's not going to insult us.
Overall, they have some pretty solid wrestling matches. They've had some pretty decent segments. It's all, honestly, I think the production quality and the fans in Albany, I think I'm feuding with the fans in Albany. Like, if you guys are going to do a wrestling show, be excited to be there.
This is 2 weeks in a row now, guys. So
Albany.
He's angry. He's sitting down right now, but if he wasn't, he'd be jumping because he'd be hopping mad.
Hopping mad.
So TNA, though, again, I'm really excited about where they're going. Something that I'm slowly getting more excited for. We are in the week leading into Double or Nothing for AEW.
Stop being a hater.
I'm trying. I'm working on it. I'm going easier on them right now. I think that this pay-per-view, again, it looks like an AEW pay-per-view. I'm not gonna lie. That this is their style, what they're doing with it. We'll talk more about the pay-per-view after we get into some of the things that are building into this pay-per-view. Kind of the biggest thing is Darby Allin comes back to AEW for the Anarchy in the Arena match. They had injured Eddie Kingston during a New Japan Strong show, and Darby came out to make the save for FTR and Bryan Danielson. I guess the bus didn't hit him that hard. That's what I'm sticking with on this one is.
Darby Allin is a masochist, man. He has a broken ankle. He got hit by a bus. He got a concussion, apparently. And I don't know if he actually had a concussion, so I don't want to spread false news. But he said that when they hit a suplex, he was hiding under the ring. The ring hit him in the head, and he thinks he blacked out. That sounds like a concussion, in my opinion. That's why I say that. But I'm no doctor. Not a doctor. So I don't know. Like, that man, he loves the pain.
I will say this. Darby Allin's one of those guys who, under a normal circumstance, I'd be like, he's too small. It's never going to work for him. He's a rarity in this case for me. He goes against the wrestling stigma, and he has it. Out of all the people that I could possibly bash in AEW, I very rarely bash Darby Allin, because at the end of the day, he is over, and he's over huge. He has that Jeff Hardy charisma, where he might not be my cup of tea. He's not the type of guy I normally follow. But I think no matter what promotion you put him in, he would be over. So long as they let him keep doing what he's doing. And the stuff he does, as much as it's him throwing his body at people, it has that early Jeff Hardy appeal where I'm throwing my body at these people because I'm half the size of them. And like that the running dive that he does through the ropes is still one of the most amazing dives I've ever seen, because he he throws his body sideways. I remember I had a cat as a kid that used to do that against the sliding glass door, and it looks the exact same way. Like, it's just complete reckless abandonment.
You think that's
And
what happened with the bus? He was trying
that
to take
might
down
be
the
what
bus that
happened
way.
with the bus. Is he didn't realize, maybe the concussion happened earlier than we think, and he thought he was in the ring and he threw his body at the bus like that. I don't know, but this is the
Well,
way he does it. It
in
just
all
looks
fairness,
amazing.
buses in New York City are reckless. I had to actually save somebody from getting smashed by a bus once, so it's a real thing.
Was it Darby Allin?
It was not. I wasn't there for Darby. I'm sorry, Darby. It's all my fault.
See,
I should have been
on
there.
you. This is
This is
on
what
you.
happens when you work from home now.
So, moving on from Darby coming in for the save and being part of Anarchy in the arena, we got a really good tag team match. I expected this to be a good tag team match, and that was between Nicholas and Matthew Jackson, the mostly Young Bucks, versus Christopher Daniels, the Fallen Angel, and Matt Sydal. Matt Sydal, formerly Evan Bourne for the WWE, for those fans who are kind of just on one side of the fence with this. Evan Bourne is an amazing high flyer. Christopher Daniels is one of our all-time favorite guys, not just in the wrestling business, just one of our all-time favorite people. And the match ended. It was pretty apparent that the Bucks were going to win this. There was no way they were going to lose the tag team titles or set Daniels and Evan Bourne up for Sydal up for the tag team titles. And then afterwards, they fired Christopher Daniels. Obviously, this is some type of work, or this is going to be, well, you can't work for AEW, but congratulations, you can still do your work down in Ring of Honor. That's how they'll probably work some type of thing out with that. But I would also like to see Daniels maybe come out and screw them at Anarchy in the arena. That would be kind of cool. I don't want to see this be the end of Christopher Daniels on screen, because I do love Christopher Daniels. I think his on-screen presence is amazing. I think everything he does is kind of top-notch, and he's not a young man, and he's still going out there and putting on a pretty good match.
Yeah, this can't be the end of his on screen, in my opinion. He deserves a better ending than that. If he is actually fired, like, I know he's not fired in the way that we saw on the screen, but if he decided he wanted to leave the company, I would love to see him go return to TNA. So that would be awesome, in my opinion. But yeah, there's definitely some sort of work. We'll see kind of how it works out. This wasn't even the best tag team match on the show. The first one with Danielson and Mox versus Fletcher and Cobb was a great match too. This show overall was a really, really good Dynamite.
So I will say this, and it could just be that I'm personally more invested in Christopher Daniels. I liked this match better than the Blackpool Combat Club and Fletcher and Cobb. I don't know. It seemed, the Fletcher and Cobb match seemed like it was a little rushed for me, where I think they were trying to move at a faster pace. And I know you enjoy a faster paced match, but it felt like they were trying to do it. And kind of how they've said it about Kyle Fletcher, where he's a puppy with big paws. I think that came out a lot in this, and I'm not trying to knock him. I think he's very talented. I think the fact is that he is bigger than what they're trying to do with him. And I mean physically bigger. He's a reasonably large dude, and I think everyone just sees him as a young kid, so they expect that he's gonna fly around or do something. But I think he's like a legit 6'4" dude or something like that. Like, he's a big guy. He was bigger than Moxley, and I think Moxley is like a legit 6'3". So that gives you a size comparison for him. I think it's just because he has that baby face, they think he's gonna kind of be a flyer. So I didn't hate the other match. I just enjoyed this match more than that one.
I was talking more the technical side of things. I like the storyline here a little bit better as well. And I'm always rooting for Christopher Daniels, and I'm always rooting against the Young Bucks now. They got the heat that they wanted, so boo.
They did get it. Next up, we have Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale officially signed their contract.
You got what you wanted here.
Yeah, we got a tougher version of Willow. This is actually exactly what I've been asking for.
You asked for it last week.
Yeah, and they gave it to me. The only
and now you're going to complain about it.
I'm not going to complain. I'm not complaining about what they're doing. I'm sorry. I'm not complaining about what Willow and Mercedes are doing currently. My knock, and it's again, it feels this way with a couple different things, with a couple of the other belts as well. It feels like the TBS title is bigger than the women's world title right now. And I'm not saying that you can't, right? This is a bigger feud than anything that Toni Storm is doing or has done in the last couple months. And I'm not saying this that I don't like Toni Storm. I love Toni Storm. I love her gimmick. I actually really like the matches that she's been having. The problem is the fact that you are giving this, what was this, 3 months worth of buildup for this match? And I realized that this buildup is because Mercedes hasn't been cleared until blah, blah, blah time. But because we've gotten this massive buildup and, again, allowed this storyline to breathe a little bit more, this match feels much, much bigger than the AEW Women's World Title match does.
This is one of the triple main event matches and the women's
triple main event matches. I actually heard this, and I kind of agree with this, is a good way to put over both the TBS title and the women's world title. And here's the thing. I want Willow to win this. I do. I want her to keep the title. I think even if Mercedes is the heel, I would rather see Willow keep going as the TBS champion. But if Mercedes were to win this and go full heel, like we are not questioning whether or not she's a heel, and say, well, really, I just did this to get back at Willow. I don't want this title. This isn't the world title. This is beneath me type of thing. I could see that being a really cool, like literally dragging the belt on the ground. It's an old Shane Douglas from ECW storyline that they did.
It's the throwing the TV title on the garbage story.
But I don't want her to throw it away because I want it to be better than that. I want the Shane Douglas version where they don't want the title, they don't want the title, they don't want the title, but they don't want to lose either. So they don't want to they don't want to lose the title because they're better than that. And I think it could, as much as this title's already been elevated to a level that maybe it shouldn't be up this high already. But everyone that's held this title now has made this title kind of more important than the AEW women's title, women's world title. I'm sorry, because your first holder for this was Jade Cargill, and she went like 2 years undefeated with this belt. And I kept feeling like the matches for this were more important than the actual world title. We're back to that point, or we're still at that point.
I think AEW has a way of muddying up the tiering of their titles, right? So in WWE, it's clear there's the world title, there's the Intercontinental title, there's the US title. I put them in that. You could say that the US title and the Intercontinental title is probably on par because now they're on separate brands. But, like, let's be real. You know what's 2 and what's 3. Outside of the world title, which even that sometimes, in my opinion, gets a little muddied up, the rest of these titles on any given champion, like, elevates and lowers depending on who's holding it at the time. And I can't tell you if I like that or dislike that. Like, a champion is a champion and they should be respected. But when you have a world title, I'm with you that the women's world title should be more elevated here. And I think they're also, not to play insider information thing, not that I have it, but like they're kind of, I think right now they're trying to pad Toni Storm's title reign right now. Because she's not having any real situations where you think she's going to lose. The Thunder Rosa one might have been the only one that really you thought she could potentially lose. I didn't, of course, I got that right. But actually having her to lose it to Thunder Rosa because Thunder Rosa had to vacate it was a believable title switch.
Well, and this also feels that to go along with what you're saying, this goes in suit with the other titles in the sense that it's very much felt, and maybe this is just me reading into it a way that maybe it shouldn't be, but that the IWGP title has felt almost more important than the AEW world title lately. And, like it's being presented in a better way, I guess. And this isn't a knock on Swerve. And again, I get that they're still learning how to do proper storytelling, which I think that comes in. Again, I told you I'm going to try to be nicer on AEW this week then and moving forward, because they are trying to give me what I want. And I think some of their growing pains is learning how to, again, let some of these storylines breathe. And I think the problem is we're getting entire storylines a lot of times in one episode. And maybe if we spread it out a little bit more, because that's the real genius of storytelling with wrestling, is we all admit it, it's a soap opera. Well, the reason why soap operas go on for 70 years is they don't give you everything all at once, or they find a way to recycle a storyline. And so-and-so slept with so-and-so's brother and he's dead during the sex capades or whatever, and now we're wondering what happened to that person. Then they come back. It's a lot like comic books too.
That's a good dark turn. Remember who jumped Mercedes Moné?
Nope.
Where'd that go?
It's been nothing. I mean, it's obviously going to be Chris Statlander, but it's been like a story that hasn't
been mentioned again.
Yeah.
You'll never hear about that. And the one thing about Swerve, the problem with him right now as world champion is nothing that he's doing. It's the fact that he's not in the most compelling storyline in AEW. Like the fact that he's not somehow mixed up with the Elite is a bit of a miss for me. Like we talked in the past, like even if he was begrudgingly pulled into the Elite side and having to be on their side or else sort of thing, would it be more compelling than him just kind of floating around in the mid card, literally in the mid card? That's what happened to him on Dynamite. He was just in the middle of the card. Random title, was it not title defense, but a number one
championship eliminator with him and Brian Cage, right? Also, I'm tired of title eliminators. Like, either have a match for a number one contendership or don't. Like, it's one thing if you have a tag team match with the world champion and someone on the other team pins the world champion, and it's like, oh well, he's got to win over the world champion. We can put him into world title contention. That makes sense to me. But constantly having these title eliminators and then not having the guys go over on them, you're not doing anything for me.
I'm with you. I'd rather see a number one contendership match once in a blue moon. If you have somebody come out and say, hey, I want a shot and I'll put it all on the line, I'll fight you now without the title on the line. And if I beat you, you give me a shot once in a while, and like make it a big thing. Like otherwise,
well, and that's the thing is, if it happens once in a while and then you do it, now there's this intrigue of, oh well, he beat the champion. Yes. Maybe he can do it again. Another part to this though is, I know I have written on here, hey, where's Wardlow? He's not hurt. You have this guy that is an AEW homegrown talent. He got over about as organically as you can. He's a good-looking dude who's got size and athleticism, and they keep making him go away.
I haven't seen him since Dynasty when he got the stink face.
Yeah, I haven't seen him. He was even on Dynasty. I don't remember if he was on Dynasty.
He came to the ring.
Oh, that's right. He did. And even the United Kingdom or Undisputed Kingdom, I'm sorry, they were supposed to be the biggest heel group that was going. And they've kind of been pushed to the side. That you don't hear anything from Adam Cole. You hear very little even from Roderick Strong. The the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions are just that. They beat them in the first round of the normal tag team tournament, which again seemed a little flat for us.
Was
I feel like
Wardlow
this.
there during the Ospreay Strong segment?
No, he has not been there in the last 2 weeks. I've
Okay.
seen him for stuff for signings and things like that, but he hasn't been on the show itself. And this was supposed to be the guy that they were sending after the world title at one point, and they did. And then Joe beat the crap out of him,
Yeah,
and
good
it
little smush.
was just done. It was a thing, and then it was done. It's again, I think my main knock for AEW is going to be that we need to keep a more concise storytelling aspect to this. If we're going to, I'm not going to knock their matches. I'm not going to knock anything else. I'm not going to knock their talent. What I'm going to say is that I think the aspect of their storylines is the fact that because a lot of them are told within one episode, a lot of times even, we're losing out on storylines that could just keep building and growing and being better. And I'll say what you said last week. These are growing pains, right? Like you're a 5-year-old company. But the other thing is you're not doing this I'm trying to be nicer, but the fact of the matter is where they should be at 5 years is not where they're at 5 years. They should be further along. And that's not what they've gotten to. So I think that's where my unhappiness with them is. I'll say unhappiness. Disappointment, if you will.
I would like to just see. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I think they need to increase their production quality. I think you need more vignettes, little things like that to kind of talk about what happened in previous weeks. That would go a long way here to keep those storylines going. But I think you're right. I think that there is a lot of one-off storylines of the moment, and then nothing afterwards. And if you look at this Willow Mercedes storyline, it's probably the best storyline going, except for maybe the Elite. And because it's been going on for so long, the build's there. You're getting people excited to see this. I completely turned my opinion around on Willow during this one program. She went from being someone who I was like, oh yeah, she'd benefit by learning more, to improving every single week and getting better on the mic every single week until she was a badass and threw Mercedes through a table. Like, that was awesome. And like, I'm all for it. I'm all in the Willow camp. We'll see after the next question or two.
I'm super high on Willow right now. One of these things, we're going into this pay-per-view and we have Christian Cage versus Swerve. This is another one of those situations where I don't think there's any world where Christian wins this match. Right? Like, are we all in agreement? Like, Swerve is keeping this title.
We're gonna do predictions next, but I guess so.
Let's face it. This is a lot like Cody and Logan Paul. I don't think either one of these people are losing their titles at these pay-per-views coming up this weekend. I know Christian kind of went away recently. Like, he was gone for what, like 3 weeks or a month after his match with Copeland, where he lost the TNT title. I think it would almost benefit him storytelling wise. If I were holding the pencil and I was booking, Christian going away for the remainder of the summer, maybe even, or at least until Wembley, let's say. And then you can kind of wipe away this idea that he's a heel. Either that, or, and I hope they don't do it after I say it, because then it makes it seem like actually I do hope they do it, because it makes me feel like I'm smarter. After the match, if Christian loses, the amount that they've been saying with Nick Wayne saying he can do it on his own even without Christian, if he comes out and him and, I'm still going to call him Luchasaurus, I refuse to call him Kill Switch, him and Luchasaurus just beat the crap out of Christian, and it's almost like Christian's face turn at this point. And then the next time you see him is he's saving Adam Copeland. We get this full story fully around, because I don't think there's a world that we can boo Edge. And I know they're trying to like kind of plant the seeds that it's gonna happen. I don't know. I don't think I don't think we're ready to boo Adam Copeland right now. I think we're ready to say we're not happy with what he's doing sometimes, but he'd have to go absolutely like just blindside somebody for us to actually boo him, and we might still cheer him at this point.
Yeah, I don't think you're booing him, but I think that he's going to be a more vicious Adam Copeland, a more whatever they're doing with the House of Black, like they're poisoning him in some way, shape, or form. I think that's going to bring out a more extreme version of him, and I do think that they're setting up both of them, Christian and Copeland, to teaming up again. Maybe Christian does go away for a little bit, and then Copeland gets all mixed up with the House of Black and needs some backup, and he comes out in that way. But maybe not necessarily in a face turn where they could still be kind of on the heelish side, but people are happy to see them back together and putting on good matches.
So I'm going to throw this one out there because, like you said, if they can keep this going with the House of Black and they just kind of keep doing stuff with him and House of Black and kind of having them triple beat him down, there's a 3-man team that has some darkness to them that nostalgia would give them a huge pop.
They've been talking about Gangrel coming back.
Edge has literally said, I'm sorry, Adam Copeland, I keep calling him Edge. I will probably always call him Edge. But he said during the WrestleMania thing that he wanted to bring Gangrel back in for it.
And who doesn't remember Gangrel? I know that he didn't hit the heights of Edge and Christian
Edge and
back
Christian,
in the day, but like, who doesn't remember Gangrel?
And if he comes out in all of his spitting glory, is there anyone that's not going to pop for it? I think it'd be huge. Wembley. Especially if they do it again in a 6-man match where it's the House of Black, those 3 members versus the Brood, or whatever you can possibly call it. Even if they don't call it the Brood, if they're like, why not? Edge has gotten his Brood back together. That's their way around the.
They'll definitely wink, wink, nod, nod.
Exactly. His coven. They'll call it the Coven or something like that, or whatever you call some type of vampire stable, some vampire conglomerate. But that let's go into predictions for AEW Double or Nothing already. This way we can kind of get that out. I will say, let's see, the first thing that we've got on this list, because they haven't actually announced who he will be facing, and that's Chris Jericho as the FTW for the world title.
For the world title.
It looks like it's probably going to be Hook or Shibata, or Hook and Shibata. I think that I'm going to put it in. I think it's going to be Hook taking it back. I think there's not a lot they can do to kind of not keep that title on him. And I honestly think they need to start steering away from the FTW title a bit. And if it's not a sanctioned title, it shouldn't be this high profile, basically. It's not sanctioned. It's not a real title.
It's for you. It's for the world. It's for the people.
You're picking Jericho, aren't you?
Oh, well, so I have provisos. This is not a straight pick. If it is Jericho versus Hook, I'm with you. I'm going to take Hook. If it's Jericho versus Hook and Shibata, or Jericho versus Shibata, I'm taking Jericho. So, like, I just don't know what the match is yet. And
that's true. I'm going to delete what I wrote on there. I have Hook in there, but I think it's going to end up being Hook at the end of the day.
I agree. So now if it's Hook Jericho, I think Hook regains the title. I'm with you on that front. I think if Shibata's in this, if this is a 3-way match, I think Jericho retains it. I think that they could do more with this on him, with this new kind of persona that he has, this overly cheesy. I am so in on this new Jericho. He's done it again.
You would be.
Oh man, it's so good. It's funny. Like when they're saying please retire and he responds with thank you, because when I do retire, I'm going to be inducted to all of these Hall of Fames, and you want to see me get there faster. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
It's really bad
It's
because I know
it's
he's right
brilliant.
too. Because he's
Yeah, of
right
course he's
too.
right.
Like he's gonna be in all these different Hall of Fames.
So
Um,
I'm just throwing out predictions for for every scenario here, and I'll stand by those predictions once I know what the match is.
once we officially know who's in this match after Dynamite this week, I believe is when they're figuring out who's
I believe
qualifying.
that's right.
We will make sure that we put it onto our sheets and we will have it on there and it will be locked and it will never change. Next match we have on the card is Trent Beretta versus Orange Cassidy. Whew. I think this is an Orange Cassidy win. I think it should be an Orange Cassidy win. I'm going to actually go with Beretta. And my reason being is in this storyline that they're doing where Don Callis seems to be helping Orange Cassidy, I think you're going to find out that Beretta is actually working with Callis.
That would be cool. I'm going to stick with Orange Cassidy because I think that they like to protect him at AEW, and I don't see him losing this match in that situation.
He's the mascot.
Say again?
He's the mascot.
Yeah, so I think that he ends up going over here, and we'll kind of see how it all shakes out. I just don't see Orange Cassidy losing right now. I do think that Don Callis is going to bring him in. I think you got a heel turn coming for Orange Cassidy.
Which, I mean, that might be something cool for me to see out of him because I'd like to see him go in there wrestling like he cares. I'd like to see the opposite version of what Orange Cassidy is.
Let's take the hands out of the pockets.
Yes, as Scarps would say, I want to see regular Cassidy, not Orange Cassidy. So next up, we have Jon Moxley, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, versus Konosuke Takeshita. I love Takeshita. He's not winning this match.
I mean, how could you switch the title on here?
I can't see it happening unless it's immediately getting switched back on like Wednesday. But
yeah, I don't see them doing that. Like if it was Forbidden Door, maybe.
Especially since I kind of believe that Moxley is as high on himself as he seems to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's really one of those guys who's like, I know Death Jitsu. No, you don't, because that's not a thing. And you can't say that you know this when an entry level guy who works at Walmart choked you out at a jiu-jitsu tournament, dude. Like, stop it. Just stop. But again, I still don't think Takeshita is winning this title. I would love it if Takeshita won this title. I would love it if Takeshita went to all types of different heights. I think all three of us that have been on the show are high on Takeshita. And I would like to see him do all of the things. If we got a run back of him versus Ospreay and it was for the international title at this point, and we went like 3 months with that, I would be totally fine with it. That would be awesome.
There's a little best of 3 series.
It'd be great. And I think we need to get to that. So we both pick Mox. Next match is Adam Copeland, who is the current TNT champion, versus Malachi Black. This is in a barbed wire steel cage. Everything's blowing up, going to hell match. I don't know what else to say. I think this is going to be Copeland. I don't see a world where Copeland loses this title. I think it might be, again, him not going heel, but Malachi Black gets what he wants, and Copeland loses his civilization. He loses his humanity.
I agree with the latter part. I think that Copeland's going to kiss the ring. I think Malachi Black is going to win this. I think they built the story up perfectly for Black to win this title from him. Maybe they do another match where he ends up losing it back to Cope on a Dynamite or something like that with a reverse Cope Open. But I think that you got Black winning this. They set him up perfectly for it to like really build up the House of Black. You just had Copeland blow through the other two members. Having Malachi win this, I think, is a big boost, and I think it's better storytelling.
So that's two that we don't have the same.
This is a different show.
This is the most split that you and I have ever been on stuff.
So
all right,
far.
Roderick Strong versus Will Ospreay for the international title. Strong is the champion. First of all, this is the match of the night, right? Like this is going to be the match. This is the match that we want to see.
Surprise! Will Ospreay is going to have the match of the night.
I can't believe it, bro.
He just doesn't like the grind.
He doesn't like the. I guess not. So, are we just picking a winner on this one, or are we picking a situation where I think Ospreay wins this? I also kind of think Ospreay wins this by like disqualification. I think the Callis family double crosses him finally.
I'm with you on that. I'm going to say Ospreay wins this.
That's what I mean. Is I don't think.
But I do see Strong retaining the title somehow.
I think Strong retains the title. I think putting a secondary title on Ospreay right now does not make sense.
I agree, and like there has to be the Don Callis family thing has to happen, right?
Exactly, and that's the thing is Ospreay's just too over for them to put a number 2 title or a number 3 title in this case, depending on how we're looking at it.
I could see Strong going over in this without it being like a DQ. Like you're saying that Ospreay wins by via DQ. I could see shenanigans happening and Strong winning the match.
And that's why Ospreay,
like
one way or another,
way,
I think Roderick Strong is walking out with the international title still. So the women's world title, Timeless Toni Storm versus Serena Deeb. I love both of these people, but it's going to be Toni. I don't think there's been enough. I don't think there's been enough to knock her down. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen the pictures from Ruby Soho and Angelo's wedding, but there's a picture of like kind of all the women from AEW that are there, and they did Photoshop or whatever to make sure that Toni Storm's still black and white in it. Everyone else is in color, but Toni Storm's still black and white. It looked really funny. All right, so we get to the Anarchy in the Arena. So we have the Elite, Jack Perry, the Bucks, and Okada versus FTR, Darby Allin, and Bryan Danielson. I don't know who's winning this match. I'm not going to lie.
I have no idea what's going to happen here.
I think the baby faces are going to win.
That's what I'm going to pick.
I think it's going to be... I'm just putting FTR in there. I think it's going to be their team. I think the thing about it is it's not an elimination either, so it's very hard to pick something like this, and it's all over the place. Every time they do this stuff where it's Anarchy in the Arena or Stadium Stampede or whatever they call them, it's just so all over the place.
I think FTR needs a win here. Like they really should win this. Like they just lost the tag team ladder match. They've been getting jumped week after week. They deserve a win. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Kenny Omega show up and help them with this.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see Kenny Omega and possibly Christopher Daniels even help them out with this.
Yeah. Maybe the two of them in some way, shape, or form. I just think like this is, essentially AEW All-Stars versus the Elite. Like it feels like it's supposed to be for control of the company, but it's not. But is it? I don't know. So that's kind of the way I look at this, and we'll see how it goes. So like right now, I feel like FTR should win this one, but like dealer's choice.
So next up, Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Moné for the TBS title. Willow is the champion going into this.
I can tell you who I want to win.
Is Willow going to be the champion coming out of this? I almost said Willow. It's Willow. I think it's Mercedes.
It's got to be.
I think so. I think you can't.
I wanted you to pick Willow.
I want it to be Willow, but I don't see a world where you can't have one of your trust fund babies win in their first actual outing for your company.
This program has legs still. Mercedes coming in and beating Willow doesn't end this. Willow beating Mercedes ends this conversation.
I can see that. It's got to be Mercedes though. I think it's partially what you just said and partially what I just said. This is Mercedes Moné's first match since she's come to the company, and she's one of the 3 trust fund babies. You can't not give her. She can't not win this match, right? Like if she had a match before this, it might be a little questionable. And finally, the main event. Swerve Strickland, the AEW World Champion, versus the father of the patriarchy, Christian Cage, formerly known as the Instant Classic. I think this is going to be a really good match, but again, I don't think there's any version where Swerve loses this match.
Whose house?
Swerve's house. And again, I wouldn't be completely surprised if we saw the patriarchy turn on Christian if he loses. I could see that happening. Well, that's most of our AEW coverage. I'm gonna throw it to you on this one, Showtime. Do you want to just put in predictions for the King and Queen of the Ring already?
No, let's review.
Let's cover it.
And stuff like that. Yeah, but so just look back at this. It looks like we agree on from the moment we said we disagree. I think we agreed.
We agreed on everything since then.
So those are the 2 matches that are up in the air: is the Trent Beretta versus Orange Cassidy and the Adam Copeland versus Malachi Black. So we'll see. We'll end up tying anyway. We'll get one of those right, one of those wrong.
Probably. and then you're still going to be ahead of it. I'm just hoping that I'm right
by
on
a lot. Of them. No, I mean that would be the way the game works.
I'm so tired of this. All right, we are in a week leading into the King and Queen of the Ring. So, one of the participants for the actual King and Queen of the Ring finals needs to be decided. One on each side, I'm sorry. I know we've talked a lot about how we don't like the fact that the tournament isn't contained to one night. One of the other things that we have said is we like the idea of winning the King of the Ring. We don't necessarily like the idea of being the King of the Ring and walking around with the crown and the scepter and the cape and everything. This only my idea that I want to shoot to you only works on the King side of things, by the way. On the Queen side of things, I feel like all of the women that were involved, if you had made them a queen, it's fine. Especially since in just about every culture, unless you use the word empress, queen is kind of universal, right? Like it's like there's a Queen of England, there's it's all queens across the board. There's not a whole lot of other terms for a female ruler. Where I am going with this is with all of the people that are currently involved, including who was involved on Monday night with main event Jey Uso and Gunther. If you look at the final 4, the only one who is kind of in that realm of if you made him the King of the Ring would be Randy Orton. And even if you called him King of the Ring, he's not going to come down with the crown and the cape and all that stuff. He's still going to be Randy Orton. It's just going to be He's the 2024 King of the Ring winner. He's not going to wear the crown. He's not going to be King Randy. So it's almost not even a worry about that. But he's also the only one who it kind of works with if they were like, well, he is the King of the Ring. So he's going to get to wear something king-like. The other ones all come from different cultures. And I'm going to throw this one out to you in that sense. What if, especially for like Gunther, if Gunther, instead of being the Ring General or being the King of the Ring, and I'm stealing this because another wrestler had said this leading into this, if he became the Archduke of the Ring, so to speak, which is a military position, but it's also the highest ranking Austrian military, basically king position. And he doesn't have to change anything he's doing then. He can still come out. All they have to do is kind of put the military buttons on his jacket. He can still be Gunther. He can still be the guy that we're talking about. But now he is ascended to being the King of the Ring, or in this case, the Archduke of the Ring. And then on the other side of things, with a Jey Uso or a Tama Tonga, especially with Tama Tonga, and I think it gives you a little bit of look into this, where if, depending on who the head of the table is that they're speaking to, which a lot of us are assuming it's The Rock, but the head of the table is the elder, right? He's the overall speaker of what they are. If you called him the High Chief, again, you had the High Chief Peter Maivia. This is an actual Samoan term. You're still the king, but at least it's something different that they could do, where it doesn't seem like it's that same old King of the Ring trope. We could see it a little differently. We could see it done a little differently. And it's where I would like to see them go with it. Again, I don't know if they are doing, by the way, Uncle Paul, Triple H, if you're listening to me, please give me a call. My email is going to be in the description. You can hire us. Trust me. We'll come to work for you. There's nothing that will stop us. But if you like some of these ideas, remember, Steve Zapf, Mr. Showtime, Michael Wright, we got great ideas. We could help you. Also, Tony, we'll listen to you too.
This also could probably work for Nia if she wins. You can call her.
I think it could also work for Nia. I think the difference is Nia wants to be the Queen of the Ring. She said, please start referring to me as Queen. Kind of my thing with, like we said, if Tiffany Stratton was going to win, if they just put the little princess crown on her, and they could even do like a mini cape or like a night or like a dress on the way out or something like that. All of the women, it seems like Queen of the Ring still works for them. It's the men that it seems like, well, you're going to put this stupid robe on them that doesn't look cool, but tell us that they're a tough guy. It doesn't work. Where if you play into their cultures that they're playing in the ring, I think that works a little better. Like it makes it fresh. It makes it seem like they're not completely changing what they are. They're not going to be King Booker all of a sudden. You're not going to refer to him as King Randy Orton or King Gunther. And honestly, the way that this sparked my idea was Ilya Dragunov said he was going to refer to himself as the Tsar of the Ring, which completely goes with his gimmick. And I was like, that's awesome. Now, if we did it with or if we did it with whoever actually wins, I think it would be a really cool idea. What do you think of that, Showtime?
Yeah, I dig where you're coming from. I like any way to spice up the King of the Ring in general. I think I like it the most for Gunther. Like, I could see him being the Archduke of the Ring, or whatever they want to call it, just Archduke.
Just call him Gunther. Archduke Gunther. He's now instead of the Ring General, he's the Ring Archduke.
So, like, in general, I'm all for it. Like, spice it up a little bit. Like, I think the person kind of making the biggest play to make this feel like the King of the Ring matters might be Braun Breaker, his giant temper tantrums that we'll get into. But so, like, that's kind of, I just want to feel like the King of the Ring in general is elevated, and it matters if you win. So anything you could do in that front, I'm all for it.
I wouldn't hate the idea that whoever wins the King of the Ring gets kind of some type of title shot at something.
Just something.
Hey,
Just
you can choose your title shot. It doesn't necessarily have to be the world title. Like, if you think that you can win the U.S. title from blah, 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 go after them. So on
Or
SmackDown,
like
we got
give them the last spot in the Royal Rumble, or give them something.
something cool. Or I mean, hey, you get a title shot, some type of title shot at Clash at the Castle. You're the king of the ring. You're fighting for a title in a castle. It makes sense, right?
Give them a guaranteed spot in Money in the Bank. Give them something that would lead to something, like make there be value here.
And it adds to kind of long-term storytelling, which is what we were just speaking of with AEW. So SmackDown, we saw Tama Tonga and Randy Orton advance. We saw Bianca Belair and Nia Jax advance. There was a setup with LA Knight and the Carmelo Hayes stuff. We had a Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul contract signing, and what seems to be a setup for a number one contenders match is DIY with a win over Legado del Fantasma. I thought that was a really good match. Again, I think the tag team titles just in general on both shows are kind of, they're feeling like they're in a stagnant spot right now where we might get some good matches, but we might not get overall the best storytelling. I'm sorry. I love you, R-Truth, as well, but your stuff is hilarious, but some of the stuff they're doing with the tag team titles just in general seems like it's stuck in the mud right now.
Everything he does is gold.
I just make him the world champion already. I don't see a world where Tama Tonga beats Randy Orton. At least I don't think he should. I don't think so. Unless another member is debuting and cost Orton the match. But I think it does more for the King of the Ring if you have Orton versus Gunther. I think that's the bigger finale. And then if no matter who wins, you either have this unstoppable force that is Gunther win and beat Randy Orton, or you have Randy Orton, who is the Randy Orton, win, and if he beats Gunther, is it really like, is that a knock on Gunther? Is that going to slow him down? No, you lost to Randy Orton.
I'm not really excited. Like, not that I'm not excited. I'm not very happy with some of the decisions they've made here. I think that Jey Uso should have beaten Gunther. I know we're not on the Raw stuff yet, but main event Jey Uso, the name is starting to become more ironic than anything else because he can't win the big match. He loses to Gunther, I know, because of outside interference for the IC title. He doesn't beat Damian Priest. He now loses to Gunther straight up. And I know it doesn't really kill too much of his heat. He gets put to sleep. Yeah. So it just I don't know what they're doing with Jey Uso. He's so over right now, and you know they sometimes pretend like that's like armor for him, but he keeps losing to people. The fans aren't going to be so quick to yeet.
That's the thing, is how many times can you lose? How many times can you lose the big one before someone actually says the words? You can't win the big one. And I think they're almost working towards. That's the thing, is I think they're working towards that, where like, you can't win the big one, kid. You can't win the big one. And I think we're either going to turn a corner soon where Jey does win a big one. He gets some type of singles title. Or the experiment known as main event Jey Uso is done, and we get the Usos back together.
But he's so over. He's so over by himself that it makes no sense. And I personally think that the King of the Ring should be given to somebody to elevate them. And I think that without giving Jey Uso a title, him winning King of the Ring would have brought him up. And in that situation, I would have thought that Tama Tonga would have beaten Randy Orton. So it would have been Tama Tonga versus Jey Uso. Now, I very much think it's going to be Gunther versus Randy Orton. And the same thing goes with Bianca Belair and Tiffany Stratton. Like, why are our tag team champions in the King of the Ring in general? Like these people who are there I understand why Nia Jax could use the Queen of the Ring championship, or whatever you want to call it, because she had just spent her time on Raw losing to Liv, losing to Becky, losing to Rhea. So I get why she could use a win here and like bring her back to monster status by winning this. Tiffany Stratton was the perfect one to come out here and win this spot. It just doesn't make any sense. I actually even was a little disappointed that Io Sky lost because not that Lyra Valkyrie doesn't deserve it, but she just got here, and I don't know if she deserves it. Like I don't know if she needs that push, and I definitely don't buy her beating anybody on SmackDown right now.
Especially not between Bianca and Nia. I don't see that one happening. And on the other side of that, I feel like if they were going to do it, I would have liked to have seen the Dark Horse more in the men's one, and that would have been Dragunov. I would have liked to have seen Dragunov go a little further in this if we were going to do a Dark Horse like that. Whereas Lyra seems not believable. Again, like you said, I don't think she's going to beat Bianca or Nia Jax. And if I can't believe that she's going to beat either one of those people, then is she a viable contender for the Queen of the Ring? Or are they going to...
I still beating Io.
That's the thing. Or are they going to... And don't get me wrong, that was an awesome match. We'll talk about it in a little bit.
Really good. Really good
just in general, I feel like you and I just haven't been super happy with these tournaments. I think they should have seen it in one night, or at least most of it in one night. You don't see anything with these guys coming in fatigued or tired or injured from previous matches because they're all happening amongst the weeks. These are just normal matches for these guys. There's no time limit on the matches. That's always the thing that they always do, is the only match that doesn't have a time limit is the finals. So everything up until then, it's always, okay, well, first match has a 10-minute time limit. Second match has a 12-minute time limit. Third match has a 15-minute time limit. Finals have no time limit. But it's always one of those things that you can do where, hey, we want to give somebody a bye, so these two guys are going to go to a 10-minute time limit. And it's always one of those cool things that they're able to do, and it saves time with us getting what will be probably 6 or 7 matches for just the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like this doesn't have the same feeling as the normal King of the Ring tournaments. I mean, we just celebrated the anniversary of what will probably be the most infamous King of the Ring winner, and it was in Greensboro, North Carolina, where they just were for Raw, and that was Billy Gunn, when he started Billy Gunning it. When Edge turns your name into a verb, maybe you haven't reached the heights that you want to at that point. I like the idea of the LA Knight Carmelo Hayes feud. I think if they're going to give them the time to work with it, I love this idea. I think I don't think you can hurt LA Knight with this feud, and all you're going to do is build Carmelo up as... I think this is that setup where, hey, he's going to get humbled a little bit, and we talked about this a little bit, where if he gets a little humbled, maybe he'll come back and do something a little differently.
I think this turns into the number one contendership for the U.S. title.
I could definitely see that. Which I would love to see that, especially if it over the next, not just at King of the Ring or not just at whatever happens afterwards. I could see this building and us getting a blow-off match to see who the number one contender is. And and that ends the feud finally. And maybe that's where Carmelo has to rethink this whole Melo doesn't miss thing. We saw finally some clarity. Logan Paul's United States title.
I knew it wasn't going to be title versus title.
I You did. I'll give it to you. His name's
Well,
right.
it's maybe I didn't know, but it didn't make any sense.
It made no sense, but it was being spoken about a lot. And even at the end of the contract signing, Cody couldn't help but lift up that belt. Is it because he's the American Nightmare, so he needed to hold that U.S. title? I don't know. I thought this contract signing was good. I thought it's as good as it was going to be, right? Like, this is...
No, it wasn't as good as it was going to be. They keep misstepping this storyline. Like, they did it last time when they announced Logan Paul as Cody's opponent by just announcing him as the opponent instead of him taking the spot. And the same thing happened here again, where he was very upfront about saying, I never agreed to defending the U.S. title. I have another contract here. I would have much rather seen a bait and switch kind of thing where you see Logan Paul getting into Cody's face and then the lawyer switching out the contract, having Cody sign a contract that he didn't actually read because he's all fired up. And he finds out that he signed a contract for a world title match, not a title versus title match. And then it gives Logan Paul even more heat that he robbed everybody of it. This way, he was just like, I'm not going to do it. Here, sign this contract. And Cody was like, sure, why not? I know he's all fired up, but like, that's all. Like, come on, guys. Like, this isn't rocket science we're doing over here. This is building heat. It's right there. This feud, this program could have been way better with minor tweaks, but with exponential better impact.
Listen, it's going to be so good when Cody goes heel. He's not going to go heel, but not
anytime soon, at least.
No, not unless they force him to. So that's kind of what we got out of SmackDown. On to Raw. Showtime. First thing I got on this list is something for you. They gave us a new QR code for a member of the Wyatt Six. They're being called the new Wyatt family. I'm not sure what they're going to exactly be called. I feel like Wyatt Six is actually a terrible name, and I really hope they change that. I know that it's supposed to be 6 members, but I don't like it. But the QR code has certain coordinates on it to someone's alma mater. I believe your alma mater, actually. Thus probably telling us who one of the members is, and that would be to Rowan University in I believe it would be the lovely city of Glassboro, New Jersey.
The borough of Glassboro.
The borough of Glassboro, formerly Glassboro State.
Glassboro Normal School.
And I dig the fact that Rowan University posted on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and went along with this. And I love this. This is great. This is the type of stuff I like to see. If you're gonna try to be smarter than everyone else, this stuff makes it seem like you are actually a little smarter than everyone else.
That was a deep cut for that reference to Rowan University.
The fact that they went along with it, though. I wonder who thought of that. I really want to know who came up with that. It had to be someone from like New Jersey.
I'm sure that they've had.
It was Matt Camp. It was the last thing he gave them before he left.
Last thing he did, yeah. Yeah.
Now then, moving on from that onto some of the actual stuff that happened. It seems like Drew McIntyre is building up this match to definitely be for Clash at the Castle, right? Like he's not cleared to wrestle yet. Where is it going to be the biggest? It's going to be at Clash at the Castle in Scotland. I think we've proven that international fans of the WWE are nuts, especially Europe, but just in general, all of these international fans who are finally getting these pay-per-views, or I'm sorry, these PLEs are proving that they are rabid and they go differently than as much as some of these fans are awesome in the US. France was insane that when they did Puerto Rico, I realize it's still technically an American colony at that point, but they did Puerto Rico last year for Backlash, but it was
good.
Yeah, what I'm saying, it's still an American area, but it's not. They had never done a pay-per-view there, and it was nuts there. Every time they do something in the UK, it's insane. Some of these fans are just nuts, and I like the European fans, honestly. I think Albany, New York could learn something from them.
Albany, New York could definitely learn something. But let me ask you, what happens at Clash of the Castle when Drew McIntyre's about to claymore Damian Priest and CM Punk comes out and screws him, and then he ends up losing in Scotland?
So good, and I don't even think he lays a hand on
those Scottish people are going to burn that place to the ground.
And let's look into this a little deeper. Punk should be pretty close to getting cleared at this point, if he's not already. We're talking about January. January is when he got hurt. We're in May now. Clash of the Castle is June, I think. June or July, right? I forget the exact date, but it's in the next month. And then I think you have Money in the Bank right after that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're at the 6-month mark. And it's been talked about that maybe this injury isn't as bad as we originally thought, because they were saying 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, and he was saying he was already healing up. He's taking the sling off.
I mean, he did stuff at Mania. Would he have done that? Would he have taken the brace off if he wasn't able to?
Yeah, 100%.
Would WWE have allowed him to take the brace off if the doctor didn't clear him to do even that? This sets up SummerSlam, right? That's what I would assume. This has been one of the greatest 9-month storytellings that I've seen in a really long time.
2 people who are hurt, still getting FaceTime. Like, maybe they should do the same thing with Rhea. I still have no idea why she's not on the show. It's been 2 months since this injury, essentially, right? And there's still no news. Like, what's going on? Tell me. Like, I want mommy back.
We all do. Especially since I don't know if I'm buying into Liv Morgan that much right now. I'm not saying
she's arriving to the arena with Finn Balor in the background.
I don't know. I'm not on board with Liv stuff right now. It's maybe I'll come along, but I'm not super big on it.
She got a pretty good promo with Becky in the show. It wasn't the best promo in the world, but it was pretty solid building up to their
I think that's what it is.
This Raw did really good.
I think that's what it is I'm not downplaying her so much where it's like, well, she's doing everything terrible. It's just I'm not fully on board with what they're doing with her just yet. And again, it might just be that I'm having Rhea withdrawal.
That's really what Rhea should be here.
I think that might really be what it is that Rhea Ripley should be on the show and she's not, and having withdrawals from it, because I've said it. I think Rhea Ripley might actually have been the biggest star in the WWE. I mean, you could say Roman, you could say Cody. I don't know if any of them are actually bigger than Rhea Ripley at this point, or at least bigger than what Rhea Ripley was on the verge of becoming.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. I'm huge. I'm hugely over with Rhea. Like, that's no lie here. We've talked about it before. I think she had the best match of Mania with Becky, and there is a gaping hole in Raw without her, and that I think needs to be filled. I feel like even Becky kind of, like, her status fell because Rhea's not there anymore.
I feel like her stuff is getting, I don't want to say stale. Stale is a harsh way to say it, but her being the man again, I think is almost. I think it'd almost be better if she went to being the heel and being big time Bex again, or something different. I think we
But
need something
she
different
can't.
out of her. And I think she was. I think it would have been better for Becky if Rhea didn't get hurt or didn't leave, because she would have gotten that time away that she was supposed to get. How can we miss you if you're not gone? I can't miss you right now, Becky. And I wanted to miss you. I didn't want you gone for too long, but I wanted you gone long enough where I forgot that you kept telling me that she had 104-degree fever during WrestleMania or whatever it was. I just need a little bit. I'm going to bring up this just because I have been saying this for years, and it seems like Ricochet is turning heel. I fully believe that Ricochet should have turned heel a long time ago. I think his promo style and how he talks naturally is heelish. It makes you want to punch him in the face. And I think just the fact that he's a little smaller, he's super athletic, the stuff he does is insanely cool, that it was hard for them to make him a heel. But if you ever listen to some of his old, even NXT promos, he's a heel. He wants to be The Rock, basically. He talks in that demeanor, which, whether you liked The Rock or you hated The Rock, no matter what, the fact of the matter is, babyface Rock was over because he had earned it at this point. There was no way he was ever going to come in. But his promos are still heel promos. Let's face it, that's what they were. It's just they'd been over for 20 years, so you can't make people boo you if you're doing the same promos. That's why he changed everything up. But Ricochet's stuff is very much the difference between you and me is I make this look good. Okay, well, that's a jerk thing to say to somebody. Telling Dragunov even during this promo or during this segment, that they weren't done and that they were the ones that raised the bar and that it's probably because of him. And that's a jerk thing to say. These are all heel comments. Now then, to go along with that, Braun Breaker then speared him in half, and I was pretty happy about that because I like the Braun Breaker Warpath temper tantrum. I think this is a great way to build him as even more of a monster. To be this unstoppable force, like to get him to a point where he is going to have to face someone eventually that is bigger and stronger than him. But everyone
this sets
else
up a match with Ricochet, no?
I think this sets up a match. No, because yes, no. I think what he is actually doing is he's tearing through the people that were in the King of the Ring, and he wasn't. I could see the next thing he does is like spear and Dragunov out of his boots, or one of these other guys, and then eventually he gets to a point where someone has to stop him. And I think the person that he needs is, if they're going to heal him out like this, it needs to almost eventually be like Braun Strowman. Braun and Braun go at it. But he needs someone who he doesn't look like he's 19 times their size. And there's not a whole lot of people in WWE right now that Braun Breaker doesn't look like he's a man compared to children.
Well, the way right now, it looks like he'd go over on Jey Uso right now.
Well, and that's the thing is, even Jey Uso, even the Usos, like, but if you're not in a main event program or haven't been in a main event program recently, none of these guys look like, if we're just going purely off aesthetics, they don't look like they hold a candle to Braun Breaker. Mainly because they don't. You said it yourself. He is the prototype for how a star should be given. He's got size. He's got a look. He cuts a good promo.
And poor Kale Dixon, man. Oh, he got absolutely destroyed. He gets hit with the chair. And in all honesty, I blame Bully Ray for what happened here. I know that's from left field, but with his comments around Orange Cassidy and taking somebody out on a gurney, the way to take somebody out on the gurney, him saying that out loud is what made, I think, WWE say, okay, let's show everybody how we take somebody out on a gurney. So, Bully Ray, Cale Dixon, that's on you. You
This
did
is
that
on
to
you,
that poor
buddy.
kid.
Oh, this poor guy. Poor guy. So Judgment Day seems to be in some type of disarray.
You think that they're breaking up right now? I think that this is not going to be a formal breakup, but like a almost dissolution. The Finn turning to Damien and saying, "I wish it was us out there" instead of JD. Which, trust me, I get it. I'd much rather go out there with Damien Priest, but I thought that was interesting. I could see Finn kind of just being disenchanted with the group, right? And then kind of fading off with Carlito there for whatever reason. I could actually see him and Dominic kind of fading out of the group, where like I could see JD McDonough just being the only one in the Judgment Day's locker room when Rhea returns. She'd be like, "What happened?" It's like, I don't know. No one came back.
Yeah, like
There was a
they went out for sandwiches, and I'm still waiting for my Italian. Jesus.
like, what's going on, mommy? But did you notice that they had the demon thing in the background of that segment?
I did not realize that.
So there's a little, like, kind of a poster or briefcase looking thing up in the top. I don't know exactly what it was, but it had the demon kind of look to it. So I think they're kind of teasing that you might see Finn Balor maybe stay, maybe leave, and return to his more savage form.
Which would be cool. I think they're slowly getting to the point of disassembling the Judgment Day, though. I feel like
I either want them to turn it back up or get rid of it. Like, this meandering middle doesn't work for me.
Yeah, like they're just kind of muddling around, right? Like they're just we'll figure it out soon. And I think part of it might end
JD
up being
out there to lose.
That's the thing, is I think part of it's going to end up being whether or not they pull the trigger on if and when Priest loses the title. I think that could have a big thing. Whether or not they're going to pull the trigger on it, whether or not they're going to keep having them be kind of honorable, or if they're going to, like you said, they either need to turn up the volume or just give it up.
I could really see them doing where Priest fights McIntyre at Clash at the Castle. Drew gets screwed out of that title again, so then it leaves Priest open to fighting the Demon at SummerSlam in kind of a dissolving of the Judgment Day.
Could be cool. It could definitely be cool. Again, I'm excited to see. I'm not excited to see them break up, but I'm excited to see how they break them up, because they're obviously going to do it in a way where if we have to, we can always pivot and put the Judgment Day back together. Kind of, hey, we don't need you until we need you situation. Yeah. You know, the DXs, the Four Horsemen's, the group, the Shields, the groups like that. Like, okay, well, hey, we don't have much else going on, so we're going to have you guys get back together and beat up those guys, because everyone will pop big for it for at least that night.
Yeah. Well, we didn't break up. We just stopped hanging out.
Yeah, but Priest got booked somewhere else one day, and we just, they tore apart our locker room for some reason. Let's see. Chad Gable. I think this feud, this three-way feud that they have going on, this storyline that they're doing is awesome. I love the mind, the body, the soul thing that the way Sammy cut the promo.
Really,
I love what Bronson Reed said to him later, that it's not personal, it is just business, and my business is hurting people. I like what Gable is doing. I like Gable having the moment with the Creed brothers, thus seeming like he's probably going to bring them into the mix. I just don't know if I buy them. I don't know if I buy Sammy losing the IC title. I think if there is a title that's going to change hands in Saudi, I think it is the IC title. But that's just where we're at in the world.
You know, I have my picks. I could see Gable winning this title here, and I can see it because the Creed brothers come in and help him win it when Otis won't. Because
See,
he won't this time.
I could almost see it being that on the other end of it, Bronson winning it because Otis won't help him. You know, he's expecting Otis to hold down Sammy or something like that, and Sammy's kind of out of it, and then Otis won't do it. Bronson comes over and takes out Chad and wins. Doesn't actually beat Sammy, so Sammy stays strong, but beats. And again, I don't know if that's what's going to happen. I don't even know if that's an option, but
I kind of
we'll
forgot
see.
that Bronson Reed was even in this match because I don't know why he is. But the stuff with the Alpha Academy I think is fantastic. I think Gable is getting really over. I love the "You Suck" chants. So I think everything he's doing is just top notch. I love the build to this. This has been really really good.
Other than that, we have Sonya Deville returning. Cool thing. She's returned after, I believe, both being partially injured and getting married. So good for her. Congratulations. I think her little devil's advocate moment with Shayna Baszler and Zoe Starks was cool. I also think that Shayna and Zoe going over as the number one contenders was not. I would have liked it to have been better. I would have liked them to go out there and just have destroyed the other three teams at this point. I feel like we're kind of getting the same thing out of both tag team divisions. We're getting two guys that are, or four teams at a time that are just not, I don't know, we're getting good matches. But if you want me to believe that Shayna and Zoe are killers like they should be, you have to book them as killers. And I would have liked to have seen them go out and just destroy these people, just have been monsters. And especially since Shayna Baszler hasn't really been known for being a knockout artist, she's a submission specialist. So if they had debuted that new tag team finisher that they did after they just went through and destroyed everybody, I think it would have gotten over better. But again, that's just me. The women's tag team titles are kind of.
I don't think you're going to see a really good tag team title challenge until you get Nia and Tiffany. I think that they're building that in this right now. I could see the reason why Nia wins against Bianca is by Tiffany coming in and helping her win.
And then eventually we get Tiffany and Nia versus Bianca and Jade,
which would be fun. I'd pop for that. I think that's a great match, and I really.
I think it'd be good, and I also think it would both lead into Jade versus Bianca, but we'd also get some fun Tiffany versus Bianca matches, which is kind of what I really want right now. I would like a long-standing feud between Bianca and Tiffany. It's weird. They're kind of like, they are the opposite sides of the same coin, right? Like they're the two really athletic girls. They're both kind of bratty, but it's like what level of brat is acceptable. Like Bianca, has her bratty moments, but like it's like, oh well, it's cool because she twirls her hair and like she's inspiring and she loves everyone.
She smiles. It's great.
She smiles and she loves and she praises God and stuff like that. So it's okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with praising God. Also, please don't take it that way. What I'm saying is she does all the good stuff, but she's still kind of a brat about some of her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Tiffany is the opposite, where she's all about her and she doesn't care about anything else, and she's the center of the universe. So it makes her a different type of brat. And I think that's the thing is, and they're super athletic and they're kind of the exact same type of worker. They do these super athletic things, and they're both super strong, and they come from real athletic backgrounds. I will say this: I think Tiffany gets a little bit more of the storytelling better and quicker than even Bianca has already, and that's saying something, because Bianca and Rhea are being positioned, or were being positioned, to be just the world beaters of the WWE. We do get the next thing up is we have Lyra advancing over Io Sky, and Gunther advancing over main event Jey Uso. Again, this goes back to saying can't really be main event Jey Uso if you never seem to make it or win the main event.
Sweet irony.
And then Lyra
did you
Valkyrie
see in the Lyra match the crab arm grab where she kind of swung her?
So I've seen that move before. I have not seen that move in a very long time. And honestly, I think the last person I've seen do it was so long ago. It was like TNA Samoa Joe.
It was cool. I dug that move. I don't think I've ever seen it before.
I have seen it before, but I have not seen it in a very long time. And I like it every time I see it. And I think the little twist was that she did the swing. Yeah, I've seen the move before. I don't know if I've ever seen the swing.
Doesn't make it more impactful, but like actually leaving her on the mat and like sitting on it would have made it more impactful. But whatever, the swing was nice.
It adds something to it. It adds pizzazz. I thought that was a good match. I thought the Lyra Io match might have been the best match of the night.
Agreed.
And I know you had said that they started a little iffy for you, a little bit too choreographed, as you said. Yeah,
I think the same thing happened in the Bianca Tiffany match, where there was a spot where Bianca had to like shuffle over to get to it, so she would get stomped. Like you just live like it needs to flow a little better. It was clear the beginning of that match was heavily choreographed.
Which again, I'm not a fan of that either. All around though, I thought the match was good, and I thought we saw a lot of near finishes that I like. I like people going for quick pinfalls. Mm-hmm. I like that the match was finished not with a finisher. It was just a pin, a roll up, and I'm always a fan of that.
Or the reverse roll up, or the reversal of the roll up.
Exactly. It was like a reverse of reverse. It was a fake to fake.
Mm-hmm. Fake to fake works every time.
So that's pretty much everything for WWE. I guess that leads us to predictions for King and Queen of the Ring. So first match we have on this listing is the 3-way Intercontinental title match. I don't see any world where this doesn't open the show. Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable versus Bronson Reed. Truthfully, I think this is a Sami night.
I agree with you. I think it will ultimately be a Sami night, but I really could see Chad winning this.
I think it's Sami. I think Chad does not win this, and that's what completely takes apart the Alpha Academy. And then he goes against the Creed brothers.
If you want to do a tiebreaker for this one, because something tells me we might be pretty close to each other's picks. I'll take Chad and you take Bronson.
Okay.
We both think that Sami's going to win. If he wins, it's a push. But you get Bronson, I'll take Chad, and that'll be a nice little tiebreaker later on.
Perfect. I like that. All right. So next up, I have on here the Raw winner, who's Gunther, versus whoever's going to win on SmackDown for the King of the Ring. Right now, the SmackDown contestants are Tama Tonga and Randy Orton. Pretty sure it's kind of got to be Randy Orton at this point. I think the winner of the tournament is going to be Gunther.
I'm with you now.
I mean, originally we thought it was going to be Jay.
Yep.
I think it should have been Jay. Lyra Valkyria versus either Bianca Belair or Nia Jax. I'm just putting SmackDown on this one. I think whoever comes out of SmackDown is winning that. We have Becky Lynch.
Well, who do you think is going to be?
I think it's gonna be Nia.
I think it's going to be Nia as well.
I think it's gonna be Nia. And I think if they don't have Nia win it, it's almost like a disservice to her. I think it kind of kills anything else at this point because you've had her just destroy people at this point. Let's see. Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan for, I put Raw Women's title, the Women's World title, I believe it's called now. I don't know who wins this one. I think this is the only one that I'm questioning. I'm gonna put Becky.
All right. That's what we did last time when you thought it was last show. I think we had the same picks. I just think it's time to get the belt off of Becky. She was just doing this for the meantime. I think she was doing this to build up Liv as a real champion. Like when she actually loses to her here, even if Liv won the Royal Rumble, I think it still would have been like wishy-washy. But the fact that Liv beat Nia, now Liv beats Becky, is going to make her a viable person for when Rhea comes back. And with all the silence around Rhea, I could see Rhea showing up at the show after Liv wins it to be like, that's my belt.
I was just going to say, I could see Rhea coming back relatively quickly for this. If not here, maybe at like Clash at the Castle or something to that effect.
We originally, she might not be cleared, but like actually comes out. They said originally it was 3 months, and I think we're like 2 months in.
Well, Mania was the beginning of April. We're at the end of May. So yeah, we're a good, 6 weeks to 6 to 8 weeks in.
Yeah.
All right. And the match that I feel like there's no way that we don't pick this one right. And obviously Logan Paul's winning the world title, right?
Logan Paul wins. It's perfect. The New Jersey professional wrestler does it. Dual champion. That's what we all want, right?
Champ.
Champ.
Logan 2 belts. Right. So Cody's winning.
Cody's going to win this. Yeah.
Congratulations, Logan Paul. You're the new tomato can that he's beating up on right now.
That comment from Bully Ray, not to call him out again, really has been sticking in my craw recently. And I know he talked about it last week. But we had spent, WWE spent years and years setting up Roman as this unstoppable force. And then it took 2 years to build up Cody to be big enough to topple him. And then all of a sudden, we're surprised that we don't have anyone to take down Cody on the second PLE from Mania. Like, is that really... Are we really that surprised?
I will say this. On one end, they did a great job building Roman and Cody for this story.
Uh-huh.
On the other end, they didn't build anyone else on the other side, so no one seems like they're really believable contenders or has enough background with Cody Rhodes to do anything. And it also goes along with the idea of what I was kind of saying going into Mania, where they needed to pull the trigger on Cody now, because if they didn't pull the trigger on Cody at this year's Mania, I don't think he was ever going to... I think the fans were going to almost turn on him. Maybe not boo him, but like, hey, okay, we get it. You're not really a main event guy.
The perfect opponent for Cody is going to be Gunther.
It's going to be Gunther. There's only 2 guys. It's Gunther and it's Randy Orton. That's it.
Great.
There's no one else left. I think him and Gunther put on a banger. And I don't totally see Gunther not winning that. Like, and again, I want to believe that that's what could happen, is that Cody could win. Or Cody could lose, rather. I want to believe that Cody could lose. I think this would have to be a setup of kind of how you said, Gunther gets a spot in the Money in the Bank just because he wins the King of the Ring. I think that would be really cool. I think in order to set it up the right way, especially with how they do stuff with Gunther, is that he doesn't just go cash in. I think he calls his shot, but he's kind of the guy right now, right?
I would love to see Gunther win King of the Ring. Win Money in the Bank and then cash it in that night. Like, what's the point of winning? I'm already world championship material.
I would love to see it too if it's a situation where I want to see Gunther win it clean and there's no question about it because of who he is, because who they've built him up to be.
I mean, I think there might have been question around it for Damian Priest because they didn't do the best job building him up or waited too long. But I don't think anyone has any misconceptions around how good Gunther is.
I don't think that's where it's at either. But even you can't have Gunther do something he wouldn't normally do. So attacking somebody going into the match, that's not what I'm saying is something that he would do. What I'm saying is Gunther, for all of his heelish demeanor, has never taken like a full-on dishonorable win. Think about what happened when he started doing things without honor. He lost at WrestleMania. When he took his eye off the prize and he started doing things differently than how he would normally do it. So you have to still keep him in that realm of he's going to do it this way because this is the way he would do it. He doesn't go out there and do things that are silly or stupid because he doesn't do things that are silly or stupid. So he does. So when you have something where he loses sight of what he's focused on, that's when Sammy beats him. Well, now he's learned his lesson. He's not going to lose sight of that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he cashes in. Even if they do, I could see him doing something where he wins the Money in the Bank relatively quickly. Like the match isn't that long. And then he goes out later and interjects himself. Hey, you had a world title match. Or even that's the situation. I could see him injuring whoever's supposed to be going against Cody that night. And then saying, I want the match. I'm cashing in now. We're going to have this match. I went an hour into the Royal Rumble the year that you came in at number 30 and won, and you still barely beat me. What are you going to do now that I've had 2 hours of rest?
Mm-hmm.
I think that works better. I don't know. We'll see though. He's gotta actually have to do this
see
first.
How it works out. I will say now, looking at our picks, the only thing we did differently here is Liv versus Becky. And so that means after these two pay-per-views this weekend, we have one of us has a chance to either go up 3 picks, but someone's going to go up at least 1 pick. And you definitely need it more than I do.
I need this. I just want to know
you won't be able to catch me though, because I still got 4 picks on you.
I need this. I need this big. But that's our predictions, and that's pretty much our show for this week. Folks, if you've been listening, as always, thank you so much. We absolutely appreciate it. Please, please, please follow all of our different friends of the show. 80s Mania Wrestling returns. Obviously, all of the links will be in our description. All of our links for our social medias, for our emails. And as always, please, if you are enjoying the content that we're putting out, please hit a follow, hit a subscribe. It is absolutely free of charge for you to do that on whatever platform that you're listening to. And it helps the show out in ways that you could never, ever imagine. With that said, guys, we actually don't have any questions or any mailbag information. So I think it's time that we just go home and call it an evening. Showtime, as always, a pleasure. Other than that, folks at home, have a good night.
Always a pleasure. Thanks all. We appreciate you.